Hi there, I'm Stacy, the encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. Encaustic literally means to burn in. So I paint with beeswax and a torch, and because it's mixed media, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Consider subscribing and joining this artsy community. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, which helps me get introduced to more like-minded artsy folks like yourself. Good morning all. It is a beautiful fall day outside. As you can see, I'm back in the studio. We are back from the art show and we kind of took a little extended trip after that. Went to Charleston, South Carolina, which we've never been to before, so it was really cool to see the town. And the ship, the Yorktown, the aircraft carrier, is docked there. And we met my dad and my sister there. And my dad actually served on the Yorktown, so it was really cool to explore the ship with him. And we got some kind of behind the scenes look into things because we reached out to the, I think it's the Yorktown Association, I can't remember, but at any rate, reached out to them and they got us into it's kind of some behind the scenes areas in the Yorktown, so that was really cool. But we are back and I am back in the studio and I need to make some encaustic medium. I think I said a couple of videos ago that I was running really low on it and it's pretty much down to nothing. So if you hear clicking in the background, I do have the griddles on just because I'm going to scrape all of the medium out of the griddle that is in there before I make the new batch of medium. And I have the other griddle on there so I could get the surface thermometer off of it because it was stuck down onto the griddle as it was had wax on it, and when it cooled off it, you know, kind of adheres to the griddle. So anyways, going to get to be making some of that today. It'll probably take me most of the day. And so I thought might as well kind of show you the process behind making encaustic medium. All right, I wanted to mention a couple of things. First, gloves. The encaustic wax isn't toxic to touch. But because I don't have water over here in the studio, I tend to put on gloves, and that way as wax gets all over my hands, I can just take the gloves off. So that's the only reason for gloves for me. The second thing I wanted to mention is you saw I wiped the griddle out. I got all of the majority, pretty much all of the encaustic medium out of there. And that is because I'm going to be turning this up. In order to make encaustic medium, I use damar resin in the crystal form. And for that to melt down, I need to turn the griddle up. So I don't want any encaustic medium left in there as it can smoke and be toxic to breathe. So I wipe it all off to get all the medium out before I turn the griddle up to melt the damar resin down. It's just a safety precaution that I take, and so I thought I would explain it and throw that out there to y'all. Alright, in case you're wondering, my recipe for encaustic medium, it's a 1/4 cup damar per 1 pound of refined beeswax. And I melt the damar first at 245. So I'm going to be turning the griddle up until my surface thermometer reads 245. And then once that's all melted, I start adding in the beeswax 1 pound at a time, reducing the heat back down to 200 or 180, 150, depending on how quickly the beeswax is melting. And I'm really diligent to just constantly be standing over it, watching it, making sure it's not smoking. So here's my encaustic medium recipe. Other artists have, you can add more damar resin, you can add a little less damar resin, just depending on what your preference is. And I get my refined beeswax from Dandant beekeeping and honey supplies. And the wax comes actually in these 1-pound cakes. So it's perfect. I know like that this is exactly 1 pound of refined beeswax. And then the Damar resin, you can get this, RNF makes it, and so does Encausticos. You can get it at Blick. You can find, I think you can find RNF on Amazon, or you can get it at Blick. And then this is the Encausticos Damar resin. I don't see a difference between the two. Haven't found a difference. And this is by Encausticos, which you can get at fineartstore.com. I wanted to mention one more thing, and then I'll get to making this medium, and that is this beeswax. It's called white refined beeswax, even though it clearly does not look white. But if you go to order it from Dandent, you want to look for the white refined beeswax. I don't know if their other one is just a plain refined beeswax or if it's called yellow refined beeswax, but there is a distinct difference between the two. They actually sent me accidentally one year the yellow refined beeswax, even though I asked for the white or their regular refined, and the medium came out very, very, very yellow. So just look for the white refined beeswax, and when you get it in the mail, in your post, it's not going to look white. Just thought I'd throw that out there in case you haven't ordered from them before and are interested in making the encaustic medium. Also, if you have any questions on this process, definitely feel free to reach out, drop me a comment down below. Happy to answer anything that I can. Perhaps I wasn't clear on something. Feel free to ask away. I thought of a few more things. You probably noticed that I'm not real precise in my measurements, and I'm okay with that. It seems to work out okay for me, I should say. So I'm not exactly at, I have to make sure that that 1/4 cup or that 3/4 a cup that I used is like perfectly to the top and like perfectly even. And some encaustic artists take and like grind their Damar resin, those crystals, the big crystals, they grind them down into powder. I happen to be at the end of the bag, so a lot of it was powder, but I don't grind mine down. Instead, I just leave them in the big chunks and let them melt down in the griddle. And that is because you'll see there's a bunch of debris in the bottom of this pan with the Damar resin. And that's because it's a tree sap. It's a natural tree sap. They don't filter out all of the debris, anything like that. So if you grind it all up, you're kind of grinding all of that debris up as well. So I typically leave it in the big chunks, unless when I get down to the bottom of the bag, then it all just kind of goes in. And I'll show you how I get that debris out here once I get the medium mixed in. So the next step is I've turned the griddle down, which is why I picked up the camera, because I thought I'd chit chat to you while the griddle cools back down. And you'll see on my griddle, I don't have like an exact temperature. So it doesn't read, it reads warm and then 275. So that's why this surface thermometer is really important for me to have, because I can get it to the exact temperature that I need it to be at, or a pretty accurate temperature, so it's not smoking and becoming toxic for me to breathe in. It will also turn your medium a yellowy, kind of more yellowy color. So it won't be clear when you put it on your painting. So just be aware of that. If it starts to smoke, your medium could turn yellow. So I think that was all I wanted to mention. So I'm going to get mixing the beeswax in with this, and then I'll pick you up after I do that, because again, I want to focus on it, concentrate on it, make sure my eye is on the griddle at the whole time. Alright, while that finished melting down, I thought I would show you a few other supplies that I use. A silicone bread pan, and there's happen to be 4 loaves in this one. I use reusable oven liners, and this just helps protect my work surface when I'm dumping the encaustic medium into the bread pans, which you'll see me do after that finishes melting. And then I have a little mini silicone mold that I also use, and a wooden spoon. And you could really use any mixing tool that was a little bit heat resistant. I just like the wooden spoons because my mom used to bake with them, and I don't know, every time I use a wooden spoon it just reminds me of her. And I don't use them that often in the kitchen when I'm cooking anymore. We have like the plastic utensil stuff, I don't know, whatever it's called, the thicker plastic. At any rate, the wooden spoons just remind me of my mom, so that's why I use a wooden spoon. And I should also say that I will try to remember to link all of these supplies down there below in the description box if you're interested in any of these. I'll also try to find the fry pan griddle that I use and link that down below. Just, I guess, bookkeeping type of thing. If it's an Amazon link, it's an affiliate link, so I'll make a note of that down there below. But just so you know, if it's an Amazon link, it's an affiliate link. I get a small commission, nothing extra that you have to do or pay for. It just helps me out if you use them. So at any rate, just had to put that little disclaimer in there. So hopefully this will be melted down soon, and I'll dump it into the bread molds. All right, it's all melted down. Time to pour into the bread pan. One more thing here real quick. I think you could see that some of the debris gets like left in the griddle pan, the fry pan. So I just wipe it out with a clean paper towel. Yes, you're using paper towels, but you know, it's kind of the trade-off. So just wipe that excess and the debris out of there. And then I think you might have also seen or could tell in the video that some of the damar resin tends to stick to the sides just a little bit. It's not a lot, and sometimes I just miss it as I'm kind of mixing it all in. It's a sticky substance, right? So it sticks to the side even though it's a non-stick pan. And then if that's the case, I make sure I get all the other debris out, wipe up the wax, turn up the griddle a little bit higher, and then I can pick that, peel that off. It melts off easier. But make sure you get the wax out first so that, you know, it doesn't start to smoke on you when you turn it up to get that damar off. Otherwise, it's hard to get off if you just leave it on the lower 200-degree temperature. You have to turn it up a little bit, and makes it a little easier. So anyways, I need to let this medium set up, and then I'll pick you back up. It'll probably, I'm guessing, be a couple hours, but I'll pick you back up and show you step number whatever. One of the final steps in this stage of making your own encaustic medium. I forgot, I wanted to mention one more thing. This baking, non-stick baking mat, I use it because this time around I was pretty good when I was pouring it, but sometimes I've had some spillage when I pour it out of the griddle into the bread pan, and this just catches it, and then I can peel the medium off of it, and I know it's clean and I can use it, so I'm not wasting any of the encaustic medium in case I have a major spillage. Yeah, not too bad over here, but you can see it just peels right off, which is very convenient, and you know it's clean because this is the only thing I use this mat for, so it's a nice clean mat. Right, back over in the studio, and the wax, the encaustic medium rather, is pretty cool. It's still warm to the touch, but it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna take it out of the mold and I'll show you what happens here. All right, this was the last one that I poured. The rest of these are pretty full. So I'm gonna show you on this last one because this tends to be where everything falls to. But when you take it out of the mold, the top looks very nice and clean, but if you flip it over, all of that debris has sunk to the bottom. So what I can do is scrape that off, put it back into the griddle, which I have heating up, and then do another pour and let the debris sink to the bottom again. Bottoms have all been scraped. Some took a little bit more scraping than others. Got the wax back into the griddle. These shavings melting down, and we're going to do one more pour. Since I have a lot less medium here, I'm going to use the smaller silicone mold to pour into, and that way I might just get a couple of minis and it'll be a little bit less surface area for the debris to sink down into and less surface area to scrape. All right, also I'm going to let those set up again. Those will take less time since they're smaller than the larger silicone molds took to kind of cure up a bit, solidify a bit. So I'm going to let those do that and then scrape those back again for the second time. And yeah, then we'll just go from there. All right, my battery is dying, so I don't know if I'm going to get through all of this, but I think I'm going to just let this video be on its own complete video for making encaustic medium. I've done this before in other kind of studio vlogs, but I haven't made a complete video on just encaustic medium for you to go back and reference if you ever wanted to. So I'm going to end this one here, kind of short and sweet how-to video, if you will. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you got some tips. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget, I'm leaving the supplies down below in the description. And feel free to ask any questions or comment below if you feel like it. Consider subscribing if you're not already. And thanks so very, very, very much for watching. See you on the next one. Bye for now.